Martel, welcome to the channel. Glad to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm living the dream, enjoying life. How are you?
Amazing. It's morning time in LA right now. You're calling from Romania. So
Yes.
I'm assuming, is it morning time there or afternoon?
It is evening. It's 5 p.m. right now where I'm at.
Okay, okay. So you're already warmed up throughout the day. You know what? You're ready.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been ready.
Perfect. So I feel like one of the best places that men usually start with their self development journey is fitness, getting
Yep.
jacked. How did that change your life?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a very loaded statement, but I can start with the fact that I was a very timid kid when I was growing up. I didn't really stand out anywhere that I went. I was overlooked, right? Like there were a lot of people who didn't necessarily see me as an authority figure. And so when I ended up building my physique, which took me about 3 months, I built about 20 pounds of muscle in 3 months, just going as hard as I possibly could. Never taken a steroid in my life, fully natural. And the minute that I built my physique, everyone started paying attention to who I was, what I did. It opened up doors for me to be able to communicate with people, to be able to build a bigger network, to be able to build importance as a man. Like it really allowed me the vehicle to shape my identity in the way that I want it to be shaped. And it just caused a lot of notoriety, not negative notoriety, but just overall public exposure to who I was. So it genuinely did change my life. It opened up the doors to where I am now.
I see. I know you coach men, to basically replicate the same process to get jacked. So, what's like a reason that you feel like other men should, strive to be jacked? Like they should try to get jacked.
Yeah, the biggest reason I would say is the fact that a lot of men are overlooked right now. A lot of men don't necessarily have a level of importance in the world, or they don't feel like they do, and that's really the first step. I mean, most men in this world are not in shape. So the minute that you do get in shape, you rise at least visually, or visibly, to the top 1%. And so once you get there, you can start to build all of the other foundations, which is how you speak, which is how you build your social media, which is how you build a business. All of that stuff goes on the back of you finally getting in shape. You have the mental clarity. You understand social dynamics a little bit better because you see the change of when you weren't in shape to when you are in shape. Everything starts to kind of come together when you finally decide to do that.
Understandable. What I noticed you mentioned like status a lot, especially after
hmm
getting jacked. Why are you so
hmm
big on that?
I'm big on status because we live in a status driven world. Everything in this world is status, right? So the way that you are perceived in the social hierarchy, it all has to do with status. So women are viewed for their looks, right? Men are viewed for their status. So as a man, a lot of people are focused on, well, it's just looks, or it's just, like whatever. It's really status. Your looks dictate your status. The material possessions you purchase dictate your status. How you communicate to people dictate your status. How you move in life, you're literally fighting the social hierarchy with every decision that you make. So that's why I think status is the baseline of any man's desire. When you want a beautiful woman, why do you want a beautiful woman? Because of status, because she gives you status. Because at the end of the day, if you have a beautiful woman, people will see you as somebody who is of high status, somebody who actually can attract somebody who's top tier. So everything with men from the beginning, from the chimp days, right? You see natural chimps, they're all about status. Who's the alpha male? Who's the person who's in charge? Who's the person in the social hierarchy? Everything is about status.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense. I feel like a lot of guys they instinctively know that, but they always make complaint. They complain about their excuses. They say, "Oh, I can't do this. I go to school. I have work." Do you feel like
Mhm.
men should prioritize, fitness, getting jacked, or their business, their career, or they can do both at the same time?
I think they can definitely do both at the same time. I mean, getting in shape doesn't take longer than an hour a day, 3 to 4 days a week, and making sure that your diet is on point, having the discipline to be able to remove any foods that are going to affect you. It shouldn't take over all of your life. It shouldn't be your identity. That's where a lot of men mess up, that are gym bros, where everything in their identity is their physique and their journey and everything. Like, it literally can only take 4 hours of your week a week to be able to achieve it. So you can build a business, and I've done the same. Built a business, and I've also gotten in the best shape of my life and stayed in the best shape of my life for years.
I see. Yeah, it doesn't really take that much, but I feel like men, I feel like men, not everybody in general, they want perfect conditions to start. They want like the whole like world to align with their desires, so that okay,
Mm-hmm.
finally they can do this. And that's just not how life works. You gotta
No.
start in sometimes in situations that they're not the best situations. You know, you gotta just take that leap of faith and start there. And I feel like it's the
Yep.
same with fitness. It's the same with business. It's the same with personal branding. You just have to start.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And I feel like personally for me, after many years of training, I finally like I can see that that program was in my identity. Finally, I was like, I don't struggle with going to the gym. I struggle to not go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But after making all that progress, I noticed one thing is missing, and that was capability of like using my body the right way,
Mm-hmm.
utilizing my body. Because I feel like a lot of guys build muscles, they look good, but if you have all that muscle, if you build that physique and you cannot utilize that, what is the point? Because
Exactly.
if you can't utilize that, you're basically just a piece of rock. What's the
Mm-hmm.
difference? So
Mm-hmm.
I know you're also into martial arts. You train every day. So
Mm-hmm.
how would you recommend for men to start training martial arts and combine it with weightlifting and also balance that out?
Yeah. So I think a lot of men think it's siloed, right? A lot of men think that you have to do one or the other and you can't excel in both. The reality is, the way that I look at it is, the gym is like ammunition, right? You build up the ammunition, which is your strength, which is maybe your aesthetics as well, if you consider that. And then you have to use that ammunition in a weapon, right? The weapon is basically you fighting. So you fighting is basically using the ammunition that you've built out in the gym to be able to fire and to be able to use it correctly. Now, most people, they build up years and years worth of ammunition and they never use it because they don't have a weapon. And so going into martial arts gives you the weapon to be able to use the ammunition that you've built for years to get to the next level, to actually be dangerous and to actually utilize the hard work that you've put in the gym, at least from my personal experience.
How did that change your confidence? Because I know when you have that confidence within yourself that you know if certain situation may happen, you can handle it.
Yeah, it built my confidence mostly because if I knew that I can put 400 pounds on my back and I can go down and up, then nothing can hurt me. If I know that I can take a punch to the face or I can take a kick to the head, nothing else seems harder than that. Right. So confidence comes from competency at the end of the day. So the more competent you are in any area of life, I think the gym is the easiest to be competent in. It's not hard. A lot of men make it hard. It's not hard, right? It's repetition. It's doing the same structure. It's doing things that you don't want to do, but it's the easiest low hanging fruit that you can go and do and achieve massive results very, very quickly, which then boosts your confidence because you've achieved something finally. You maybe lost 20 pounds, right? Or you maybe have gotten to a point where you can strike very well, right? And you can defend yourself. All of this stuff gives you confidence in life because nothing's harder than that. That's brutal force. It's brute force. Everything else in life is theory, right? So force versus theory. Force is one of the key components of competency. Theory is just a matter of how intelligent you can get, which you can do that over time and you can do it in a calm environment. Training, fighting, that's all in very, very intense, sporadic environments, right? It's chaos. So if you can make sense of chaos very well, then everything else in life becomes a lot easier and you become more competent because you know that you've already accomplished something in a very disastrous area of life.
100%. I feel like a lot of guys that when they go to the gym, they just get stuck there and they don't want to, they just become one dimensional. And I know one
Mhm,
thing that you're very big is being multidimensional. And I feel like when you add
mhm.
martial arts to that, you know, your muscle, your size, then it just becomes like a very
Mhm.
dangerous weapon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So outside of like fitness, outside of health, outside of confidence, how did getting jacked change your dating life?
Yeah, so it changed my dating life because at the end of the day, I realized that what women say and what women do are two completely different things. Everyone says the dad bod, women don't care about how you look, they care about who you are. And if that was true, I wouldn't have gotten in shape in the first place, right? I would have been fine. But I knew there was something missing. So the minute I got in shape, I started getting a lot more attention because I always say this in dating and the role that fitness plays in that is that it's a funnel, right? So like if you're familiar with online business and everything, it's a marketing funnel. Top of funnel is attraction, getting leads. Middle of funnel is nurturing the leads. Bottom of funnel is closing, right? So with getting jacked, it's like you need that initial attention, which a lot of men don't get. A lot of men are invisible, so it makes you more visible, and then you can establish your intelligence, you can establish your social charisma and talk. Then you have the middle of the funnel because you're nurturing the woman, and then bottom of the funnel is closing, right? Whether she goes home with you or whether you get in a relationship, whatever your end goal is, if you don't solve the top of funnel, which gets you leads, you can't do the rest. So with dating, it's the same thing. If you can't get attention from women, you're not going to be able to do anything else. So date fitness and getting in shape helped me understand that better because I was always scratching my head like, why are these types of guys getting the type of women that I want versus I can't do that? And the difference I noticed was they had some muscle on them and I didn't. So I have to build that out. It's the chimp mind, right? Like I'm a chimp. So I'm thinking like, what do they have that I don't have? Making it very, very simplistic, very, very caveman like, right? Once I figure that out, I do it and I see the results. And it's that simple. But everybody wants to go around and they say, oh, you have to learn game. Your game is nurturing. You can't exercise game without getting the attention first. It's the same with sales in business, right? When you're in business, you can't get on a sales call without attracting the lead. If you don't attract the lead, you're not going to get the sales call. So you have to be able to have some level of marketing of yourself, which your body's a billboard, to then attract the women in the first place.
No, that's perfectly said, brother. I feel like building your body is just a representation of what's going on inside your mind. It shows if
Mm-hmm.
you have like discipline, it shows if you're like consistent, it shows you can
Mm-hmm.
actually dedicate some time, some part of your life to building something meaningful. And then that's
Mm-hmm.
usually translates to, as you said, to business, because you can basically apply the same mental, aspects to, let's just say, innovating, patience, doing the hard work, focusing on the little parts. Let's just say the diet in the fitness aspect is like something that a lot of people struggle regarding business. Let's just say, especially if it's an online business, it can be like building a funnel, let's just say, or handling
Mm-hmm.
sales calls. All those things connect. And as you said, when you like combine both of them, especially fitness, you become confident, and as a result, it helps you in your dating life.
Mm-hmm. Literally, it's very, very similar.
What part of building your body obviously is a very important thing in dating, but why do you think a lot of guys that are also jacked, they still struggle with dating?
Yeah, that's a good question. And a lot of men will comment and say, well, I'm jacked and I don't get any women. I can't date anybody. Well, let's think about it, right? You get in the best shape of your life. You've made that your entire identity, which is the problem with most guys. What can you talk about to them? Because women like to be entertained, right? You have to entertain them with some level of thought process, with some level of intelligence. A lot of these guys who are getting super jacked and they want to look like Chris Bumstead, they want to look like these bodybuilders, they spend their whole life there. They get so one-dimensional that to carry a conversation with a woman, even a regular human being, is impossible for them. So they become these gym cells, right? That just sit in the basement that's dark, or they go to the gym, they put a hoodie on, they don't talk to anybody, they have a mean face because they don't understand that you have to understand things beyond fitness. You have to look at other areas of life. Go learn history, go learn philosophy, go learn business, go travel, go learn different experiences because that's what women value the most. Once you've gotten them with the way that you look, you still have to be able to nurture them. Like I said, the middle of the funnel, you still have to know things. You still have to captivate their attention. You have to communicate with them a certain way. You have to understand social cues and understand if they're comfortable, if they're not comfortable. If you're just focused on getting jacked and that's your whole personality, you're going to be completely out of sync with how humans work. You're going to think every human's a dumbbell. Every human's not a dumbbell. Humans are very complex. Women are very complex. And the minute that you can break out of one dimensionally, okay, I'm just going to get jacked, and you start to establish other areas of knowledge and domain and expertise, you become a completely different person.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of guys, a lot of men nowadays, they kind of look at it as kind of like women, because they're like, oh, if I look good, then that's all I need. Sure, maybe that's going to get you into the door, but how are you going to maintain that woman? How are you going to be like a man of substance? Are you just going to be a man of substance by just lifting? Like, I'm sure you have to get your finances right, get your mindset right. You have to know more, as you said, history, philosophy, start learning certain things that makes you different. And I feel like a lot of guys just don't do that, and that's why when they get into a relationship, they cannot put that mask on. Because I watched a video from you, and you were saying a lot of guys put a mask on in a relationship until a certain point that they can't do it. After like a month or two, you get exposed. And I feel like a lot of guys, when they get to that exposed part, they feel like a woman is trying to disrespect them, a woman is trying to put them down. But in reality, it's just tests, because they want to see, are you actually that guy that you're saying that you are, you know?
Yeah, shit testing. It's exactly what it is.
So why do you feel like a lot of guys run away from that part of relationship?
Yeah, they run away from that because they've never faced themselves. They've never actually looked themselves in the mirror and took off that mask and saw who they really were. They've been living their life as this pseudo character that they've put in their head. And the minute that they have to live with a woman, and I mean, you can't do it 24 hours a day. There's very few people who can do it 24 hours a day. But you're going to get to a point where you have to take that mask off. And a lot of men like to hide when they take the mask off. So when they get in these relationships and the woman exposes them for who they really are, and women are really good at this, they can tell, they don't know what to do. So they have to run away, or they have to somewhat sabotage the relationship because they have to have the mask on. That's why you see a lot of men focused on spinning plates and going out and dating a bunch of women all at once, spending an hour here, an hour there. They can't go deep with a woman because they just don't have what it takes to get there. The mask can't be broken for them. They have to keep the mask on. So yeah, going on an hour date here, sleeping with this woman here, doing this, it's very easy to keep a mask on because you're only spending very limited time. You can put on the mask for a certain period of time. It gets fucking exhausting. I'll tell you that. I've done it. I know.
100%. That's true. Like, that's why, like, I have like this thing that I say, I feel like being in a relationship is like the best self-improvement course, because all aspects of your manhood gets challenged. Every single aspect. Your discipline, you being able to show up on time, you being able to handle disagreements, you being able to teach someone certain new things, being able to learn new things from another person. Like, it's just so many things that goes so like in a relationship that, like, I feel like it can be challenging for a guy. And especially for me, this past 5 months, I've been in a relationship. And before that, I was in a relationship. I was like, as you said, you're in your, little routine habits that you got. Like, you're like, okay, it's perfect, I'm self-improving. But then when you actually meet a woman, it's like, oh, I'm not good at this. I gotta level up in this aspect. So you completely get exposed. And I can see why a lot of guys would run away from that, because it's very difficult to handle. So what's, like, from your experience, one of the biggest challenges that you faced in your relationships when it got to that part of it?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge was putting my ego aside, right? Because I think with all men, ego is very important because it gets you to the next level. It gets you the confidence. It gets you the desire to move up. But then in relationships, the ego can destroy you because there's a certain point where you get called out and you either have to face it and face the truth and change, or you basically tell the person that they're crazy and they have no idea what they're talking about, and you keep doing the same thing that you were doing, even though they see you in a different way. They have a different point of view. They have a reason why they told you that. Like, there's been a lot of relationships I've been in, right? And I'm not perfect. The other person's not perfect, but it was hard for me to accept the fact that I had this flaw that I didn't believe that I had. And because of that, my ego had to hold on to the flaw. I had to keep having that flaw. because it wasn't a flaw in my mind. It was the truth. It was real. Like, this was who I was. This is what's going to take me to the next level. Whether it be overworking myself to death, right? Thinking that like working 15, 20 hours a day was the right thing to do and not paying attention to anything else. Or when I was in my gym cell days, I was going to the gym all day. I was consuming a lot of fitness content. I was just like the gym bro, right? And a woman called me out for that. And I didn't believe it at that time. So there's all of these things that happen that where you get called out, and a lot of men go through this where they get called out and they refuse to actually admit that that's the truth and they need to make the change. So they stay in the same cycle. The woman gets tired of it and she just leaves. Or you break. For me, I've never really been like dumped, but I've definitely ended a relationship because I got cheated on. And that's basically like getting dumped, right? The woman just, all right, I'm tired of this person. He's not changing. He's not doing anything different. He's the same person. Let me go to somebody else, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of that's where a lot of guys shift from going from like a boy to a man, because it is challenging that you really see like who you truly are. Because even by ourselves, we think we are honest with ourselves, but we just get to hide behind things. We get to hide behind the computer screen. We get to hide behind like self-improvement habits that sure may help a bit, but like they don't really expose you to who you really are. That's why I feel like when you go through different parts of your life, when you go travel with a girl, when you go, do martial arts, when you hang out with other guys that they're actually putting in the work, they're gaining experience in life in all aspects, whether it's business, relationships, networking, then you can learn something from them. And I feel like having a community absolutely helps with that. So I'm not sure if you're part of any community or something, but how do you feel like having a brotherhood helps you with that?
Yeah, currently I'm not. Currently I'm actually building my own because I know it's necessary, but it's very important, man. Like you get alone as a man all the time, especially when you're trying to accomplish big things and people can't relate to you. Other guys around you can't relate to you because they're maybe not at the same level as where you are currently. They may be a few steps behind, and you need someone to understand the complexities of what you're going through at that moment. Brotherhood is everything. Like, you have people who are on similar paths as you, who have similar ambitions, similar drives. They're going to help you when you feel like you can't do it anymore. They're going to help you when you don't want to do it anymore. Like, men have always had tribes, always, from the beginning of time. It's now that you see, because of the internet, because of COVID, because of all of these different things, it's shifted human behaviors to where everyone feels like they have to be in their little room, like kind of like where I'm in right now, on a laptop. And that's where they live, or they play video games all day and they just do all these solo adventures with themselves, versus having a brotherhood where you can get different perspectives of different things and evolve a lot faster.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the perspectives. It's all about the way people see things. I'm sure you've met a lot of people in Romania that have a completely different mindset that people have in America. Because I was born in Iran, my ethnicity is Armenian. It's like just so many different perspectives, so many different cultures. It's like, wow, I didn't know this stuff, what people think like this. My girlfriend is like Cuban, so it's like so many different cultures around me that it's like, it teaches you a lot. It exposes you to a lot of different things. So I'm sure you went through like a similar phase.
100%. I mean, yeah, just seeing how they act here and just seeing how hardworking everyone is here, seeing how hardworking but also laid back at the same time. Like, I didn't know you could combine both, but they do it. Like, they party a lot over the weekends, but then they work like 12, 15-hour days at their job. Like, it's crazy to see like how people think, versus in the US, you have two completely different types of people. You have like the super mega grinders, and then you have like the super chill, like surf bros, or like people who just don't care. And like, maybe you may have somebody in the middle where they're just like family oriented. They have like a couple children and they have a wife and they just are settled. Versus here, it's like they mix everything in one and they do it so well,
You live in Europe, so I'm sure you have a better perspective, but I feel like life in Europe is a bit slower compared to America.
Very slow. I mean, because they value money here, but they don't value it the way that Americans do. Americans make it their God, right? Where it's like, I need to make money. I need to make money. Here, it's more of like a means to an end. I want to have a good life, so I have to make money. So I'm going to work hard, but they don't make their money their entire identity here, which I've noticed. Versus in the US, there's a lot of people who make money their entire identity. It's their whole life. It's the same problem with the gym, where it's like there's some people who make the gym their whole identity. Here, most people's identity is just to live a good life. That's their identity, which I've noticed. So it's very, very different.
Yeah, that's interesting. Their whole identity is living a good life. I never thought about it like that. Speaking of like going back to the having the right brotherhood community, especially dating life and also status, how do you think building a personal brand help you achieve that?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. So building a personal brand helped me a lot with that, because people judge you based on how you present yourself. People judge you based on the social proof that you have, like for even like little things like, oh, do we have mutual followers, right? Like why is this person I know following you? Why is this person I know following you? Oh, wow, you have really, really good content. So that means you know something. You're demonstrating your knowledge. Okay, that means you're somebody worth talking to. Somebody's going to reach out or agree to talk to somebody, even if they're at the highest levels, if that person shows that they have something that that person likes. And so building a personal brand helped me build my network globally, because I was able to use Twitter. I was able to use Instagram, YouTube now, TikTok, all these platforms to basically put all of my philosophies and ideologies out there, and the right people would see it, and I would communicate with them, and I would hop on a call with them. I would talk to them. We'd become friends. I would share value as replies with other people. So like having a personal brand just puts me in the global spotlight versus the local spotlight, where most men, honestly, most men aren't even in the local spotlight. They're just kind of in their room spotlight, right? So it helps a lot.
Absolutely. How did you go about building your own unique personal brand?
Yeah, so the big thing that I did was, one, figure out what my life story was, figure out what my gifts were, what my weaknesses were, what were the different quirks that I had, like different things that like people wouldn't even think that I liked. And I basically put all of that in one. All of my content highlighted all of that stuff, because the more that you can connect with people, the more that you can be different, the more that you can seem like you're almost like a random spawn in a server, like online, the more people are actually going to like pay attention to you. So for me, the way that I did it was, how can I be unique? What are some unique aspects of me that nobody else has, which is my life story? What's all of the experiences I had? How can I put them all into one cohesive story, tell that story online in different segments of the story, and post content around that? How can I display myself online to show some specific image that I want to project online? And how consistent can I be? My whole thing with social media and personal branding is you have to be very consistent. I posted on YouTube every single day for almost a little over a half a year before I finally slowed down a little bit. I'm going to get back into it now, but literally think about it. 6 months straight of posting every single day, sometimes twice a day, you're bound to grow. You're bound to have a personal brand. Your message is bound to be out there, but you have to have the consistency.
Absolutely. Yeah, I noticed with your content, you're very fluid with the way you share your perspective, the way you share your interests and skills. And I feel like that's one of the core fundamentals of building a personal brand. And I feel like a lot of people are scared to put their ideology out there. They're scared to put the real stuff out there because they're scared of judgment.
Mhm.
And they don't want to necessarily be, I guess, talked about, or they don't want to be judged.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you ever had that, but how did you
Mhm.
even, how did you got over the fear of judgment, the fear of, rejection from the public?
Yeah, man. I had to realize that, one, everyone takes a shit just like everybody else. Two, everyone's narcissistic. So that means everyone's focused on themselves. Nobody truly cares about you. They may care about you for the first 10, 15 minutes of consuming whatever, or the first 3 seconds. But after that, they move on to thinking about themselves. When people wake up in the morning, they're not thinking, oh, what is Martel doing? Right? Like, what are you doing? Like, they're not thinking of that. They're thinking of themselves. So it doesn't matter what I put out, as long as I feel like it's true, as long as I feel like it's like the right thing that I genuinely believe in, even if I'm wrong in the future, I can comfortably put that out. And even if I get hate, right? I also understand that everything in life is about energy, right? And this isn't like spiritual, like woo-woo stuff. This is like reality. Like, everything is energy. People who hate on you, that's energy that boosts you up in the algorithm because more people are engaging. It's more energy you can use to be able to go even harder. Like people who love you and post really, really good comments about you. That's also energy that you can use as well for encouragement, for motivation, for everything. So either way, the pendulum swings. I'm going to win either way. So if I post something and nobody likes it, but there's so much attention on it, like that's a big thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. Everyone's scared of like what people are going to think. Well, first get noticed. If you're getting noticed, that means you're saying something that actually hits people. Most people don't even get noticed. So like get noticed first and then figure out if you want to change your message or figure out how to deal with haters and figure out how to deal with doubters and things like that. The people who hate on you early on, they're just hating on you because you're doing something that they've never done and can't do. They can't go online and post themselves. They can't share their stories. So the fact that you're doing it and they're hating on you like, oh, like, why are you doing that? It's because they can't do it. So that should give more motivation for you to do it. And that's what I used when I was starting out. Nobody believed that I could even get to, and I feel like I'm at a very, very small level right now when it comes to influence, very, very small level. But nobody even believed that I could do that. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit to it. And if people laugh at me, people laugh at me. Because at the end of the day, I know where I can go. I know my potential. I know the value that I have. And sometimes it takes somebody else to tell you that, but sometimes you have to believe it in yourself. And I used it and I kept going. People who laughed at me, they're not laughing anymore. They're asking me how I did it. They're telling me, good job. I always believed you could do it. That's how humans are, right? I kept all of my goals silently to myself. I barely even mentioned them out loud. People just saw it and they assumed, but I just put my head down and did it. And it worked to a certain extent. And it's hopefully still working. So.
No, I get you. I feel like your biggest haters, it's crazy, but I feel like most of them, it's your own people. People
Always.
within your circle, people within your city, community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because you feel like they're going to be the number one supporters, but it's completely the opposite. Some random guy from a different country, different nation, they're going to be your supporters that they don't necessarily know you. But the people that know you, they know what you stand for. They're basically from within like a same community. They're going to, hate on you.
Yeah. You know why?
Why?
Because they see you as the old version of yourself. They see you where you were in your hometown. You were this shy kid. You didn't really speak too well. You were bullied potentially or something like that. And so now they see you and you're putting yourself out there. You're becoming more confident. And they can't necessarily understand how you got there. They can't believe it. It seems like you're surpassing them to a certain extent. So they have to hate on you to pull you down back at their level. They don't want you to move forward because that's going to put a mirror in their face like you could do better for yourself as well. So that's why friends will hate on you more than a stranger all the way in like Slovakia, because at the end of the day, they know you for who you currently are. And the people who grew up with you see you for who you used to be, who you're not anymore, which then it makes you seem like a hypocrite, or it makes you seem like somebody who is faking it. But you really just changed. And people do not like change. And it's the same online. You build this audience, you try to change, they're going to get mad because they saw you one way and you're not that same way anymore. You've evolved. They're also going to hate. That's a new level of hate, right? So that's why I believe people who are close to you will hate on you.
That's true in so many aspects within community, within family, even with your social presence. People see change and they don't like it. And I feel like it's comfort because people are comfortable seeing like, just you not changing. But when you change, you start to shatter their own beliefs. They, as you said, you start to expose them. And I've seen some hate comments recently that people, they hate on my content and they say, oh, your content is this, nobody's watching your stuff. But then you go to their profile, they produce music, they're musicians. And I asked them, I didn't say anything. I was like, aren't you like a musician? Why don't you share your music? And they're like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough yet.
Mm-hmm. Anybody who hates is just projecting their own insecurities towards you. That's why I've changed my mindset with haters now, where like I don't get triggered, but I almost feel bad for them because you feel so triggered by what I'm doing so bad that you had to take time. Like I feel like I'm like Thanos, like I'm just snatching energy from people, like I'm just taking. And it's like, oh, I live in your head. It's rent free. Like now I'm in your head and you're literally wondering how I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm getting free rent in your brain because I'm doing what I want to do. So it's almost like amusing to me at this point where if somebody hates on me, I'm like, wow, I got you so bad that you took time that you'll never get back to let me know that you don't like what I'm doing. Because if I truly don't like what somebody's doing, like it really irritates me, or like I don't even care about the person and it doesn't trigger me, I'm just going to keep scrolling. I'm just going to go to the next video, or I'm going to go to the next piece of content. I'm not going to sit there and type out a long paragraph on hating on that person. That just means I'm jealous, or it means that that person triggered something, an insecurity that I had to go share somewhere else.
Couldn't be more true, man. That's exactly what actually happens. Especially with your personal brand, especially if you're like open to share your ideology, your thoughts and beliefs, and you're willing to be open, there's going to be haters, there's going to be disagreements. But again, disagreements are fine. It's just a lot of people, sometimes they cannot handle different perspectives. That's why they're like, okay, it's time to hate. It's time to hate. But the beauty of personal brand, for me, at least, I'm sure you notice this way more, is that it just allows you to have more opportunities in so many different realms. Making friends, building a network, attracting women, making money, gaining status. It's just such a powerful tool. And personally, for me, it completely changed my life. So I want to see how it changed your life.
Yeah, I mean, it changed my life completely because one, it allowed for me to create a whole new identity for myself. Like, yeah, I'm still myself, but I can be whoever I want, right? Like I can create a brand around anything that I like. And I can start to see immediate feedback loops of people who either really like it or really don't like it immediately. So like, for example, if I have an idea, I can put out a poll on YouTube and get 1,000 voters immediately on an idea that I have and already validate whether it's the right idea or not. I do it all the time. And like having a brand like this, like it just allows for me to get so much feedback. It allows for me to connect with as many people as I can. So impact. So like if I do the whole like meditating on your death thing, when I die, I want to know, okay, how many people did I impact in the world? How many people's lives did I change? And once I know that, I'm good. So it gives me a lot of fulfillment. And so it's changed my life a lot when it came to how I perceive the world. I'm able to see so many different perspectives of people and comments, connect with different people from different parts of the world, because if you build a decent enough personal brand, you'll get conversations with it. Like, for example, for you reached out to me and you had a brand, you had something that you were doing. I could tell that you were somebody worth speaking to. If you were just a faceless person and you had no content whatsoever, I probably wouldn't have wanted to talk. And it's the same vice versa. If I was faceless, I had no content, you probably wouldn't want to speak to me. So it's like you almost create and spawn just new opportunities for yourself if you just create the content that you want to create and you do it consistently.
100%. It just takes time. It takes discipline and consistency. But when you share your opinions and thoughts and beliefs, like-minded people are going to start coming towards you. It just is what it is. And the crazy thing is that a lot of I guess a lot of guys think only it benefits you in, let's just say, making friends or, building a connection or making money. But surprisingly, it helps you a lot with dating. Yes. I don't know if you were in a relationship when you started your personal brand or not, but for me, it's like a night and day difference. Even though I wasn't necessarily posting a lot of fitness content, even just posting podcast clips, a lot of girls like intelligent conversations. A lot of girls like people with substance. So when you start sharing those type of things, you're going to naturally filter out the low quality girls, because if someone is sitting down to hear out conversations about, let's just say, self-improvement or finances or, improving your community, they're probably operating on a different mindset. So when you put yourself out there, they're going to be like, oh, wow, this guy thinks like this. Let me just talk to him. And for me, it was, even though I didn't have a big account, a lot of girls were messaging me because of just what I decided to share.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, that's just how it works. Like, Tinder is no longer relevant for, I mean, it's relevant to a certain extent, but like Instagram is the new Tinder. Like YouTube is the new like TV, right? And what did a lot of women, they were attracted to the people who were on TV, who were, everyone was watching them and everything. So it's like the whole dynamic has changed. So it's like your Instagram profile is basically your resume. It's basically like your Tinder profile. Women will see what you have, see your values, see what you like, see everything. And it's very organic. And they'll either be attracted to you or they won't. They'll see YouTube, for example. If you have a link to your YouTube channel on your bio, they may snoop around and click into it. They may actually watch all of your YouTube videos. And what's interesting is it puts you at least mentally in their minds in the top 1% of men, because most men aren't doing it. So the fact that you're even attempting to do it already puts you ahead of 99% of men in their heads. They're like, oh, he does YouTube videos. That's crazy. He's serious about his life. That's good. And obviously the perceived level of success that you have is higher. So they may think that you're like wealthy, or you do, because you have a foundation. You're actually creating something, versus you're taking somebody on a date at a bar and they don't know anything about you. You can literally, bro, like if I was single, I'm in a relationship now. If I was single, I would literally probably send women my YouTube videos easily. I'd have them watch it and filter them out. That's literally what it would be. I would share what it is on dates. I would do all of that, because like it's your resume. It's your whole philosophy is online. Like that's why I think YouTube is like the greatest platform to have, because it really shows who you truly are.
The perfect funnel.
Yeah, for everything.
Absolutely. The crazy thing is that before I met my girl, she already liked some of my videos. I didn't even know. But then when we followed each other again, and she liked like one of my videos about like helping people with their fitness. Very random video. I barely got even likes. That's why I found her. And then later on, I found that she liked some of my previous videos. So it's like kind of like as you said, a funnel that over time they can kind of consume your content, and then suddenly, if you happen to notice them, boom, a conversation sparks.
And now you're not the random guy that's just sliding in their DMs just because you're somebody that because the thing is with like YouTube, you create a parasocial relationship with people automatically, right? So people feel like they already know you. So like if a woman's watching your YouTube channel and she finds you on Instagram and she's talking to you, or if you reach out to her, she's going to feel like she already knows you. So the conversation is already going to be warmed up, versus if she's never heard of anything about you, your name's not anywhere, your profile's weird, you have like SpongeBob as your icon, like you're just this weird guy. Good luck.
Yeah, it's gonna be very tough. I think, especially you said like with Tinder and dating apps, sure it works, but Instagram is way better because they can still see your pictures, but they can see who you are. They can see your lifestyle. They can see what you think, what you talk about, especially if you have a personal brand. And I think outside of the networking, outside of dating, it also helps with your finances. You can make money, whether it's like a side hustle or you can make it like your main income. It's a truly powerful vehicle for that. So how do you feel like making money through your personal brand changed your life?
It changed my life because it showed me that anybody can make money doing anything. I'm a big believer now in identity-based businesses, which is my new thesis that I have for like what the new breed of man is, which is how does the new breed of man climb the ranks in the modern world, right? And a big thing is, one, you get in the best shape of your life to be presentable. Two, you build your presence, which means your communication. You know how to articulate your ideas. You know how to captivate people, persuasion. Three, you build a personal brand. Four, you build a business based on the identity of that personal brand. So whatever you feel like your common interests are that you've presented, you can create a business around that, and you can literally show other people whatever your knowledge is in any subject that you care about. Doesn't matter if it's knitting. I remember I was watching a video of a woman an old woman who was knitting and is doing $40,000 a month teaching other people how to knit. Like, if that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what will, because it's like now you can literally build a personal brand around anything you like. And there's billions of people on the internet. There will be at least 1,000 people out of that billion people. When they find you, they'll want to learn it from you and they'll pay you for it. So it's like it really did change my perception on business too, because I always thought business was like this rigid, okay, you have a business model, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's sales, maybe it's something, maybe it's a service, a physical product. And then, you know, you have the product, then you have to market it, you have to run ads, and then you have to then, or you do cold outreach, you do lead generation, and then you have a sales process, and then you get a customer. With personal branding, it completely changed everything, because I was like, wait, I can put out a video, people like the video, they can book a call with me, that call is considered a sales call, and then I can make money off of that, and I can have clients rather than the whole other way of business that I was used to for the last decade. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is a gold rush for sure. Because basically your content is the marketing. It's basically another way of sales, because you sell your ideas and your who you are basically. And if, as you said, if people like, they can click a link and boom, you have a client.
Exactly.
What kind of benefits did you receive from making money online? Let's just say location wise, freedom wise, in that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, number one benefit was the fact that I didn't have to go anywhere. I could literally open my laptop and I could figure out a way to make money. Two, it allowed for me to travel the world. I didn't need to be chained to a desk. I didn't need to clock in. I didn't need to have a traditional job. Three is impact, right? I've realized, okay, well, you can help a lot of people all at once if you just put out a message and enough people see it. You can scale your impact tremendously, right? And so in business, it changed everything in terms of location freedom, time freedom, financial freedom. Like, and when I say financial freedom, I'm not by all means saying that I'm like a multimillionaire, but what I'm saying is, like, I have the ability now, because I understand the internet, and I understand personal branding, I understand products and services. I can make money on demand, which I think if anybody learns the skill of personal branding, they can make money on demand, no matter what. It's like sales. You learn sales, you will make money on demand. I think personal branding and sales, if you know those two, you're good.
Glitch. It's a glitch.
Big glitch.
Since we mentioned locations, what are some good locations for young men? Because I've been to some places, but I haven't really necessarily been like everywhere. So I feel like you have more experience. You've been to more places. So what are some locations that you would recommend for men to go to build their network, to build their business, to just expose themselves to new cultures?
Cheap locations or
Let's go low range, mid range, and high range.
okay, low range in terms of how much money you need to go. Obviously, Eastern Europe is really good. There are a lot of hustlers out here, a lot of people who are motivated. Price of living is super low. You can have a very nice place for a fraction of the price, literally way less than in the US. You can cut down your expense. I cut down my expenses by like 90% coming here to Eastern Europe. So you have that in Eastern Europe, and that means whether it's Romania, whether it's where else? Hungary, Vienna. There's so many different locations you can go in Eastern Europe to really make it happen. When you talk about mid, so that was like lower tier. Mid tier, I would say like the Southeast Asian area. So you look at Thailand, you look at different areas around there. You'll be able to find something that's like, and actually I would put that at lower tier too, because in Thailand you can have a place for like $500 a month, and it's a whole villa for yourself, right? Like you can live pretty well there, and there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are down there. So I would actually keep that at low tier. Mid tier, I would say Spain is a good one. Madrid is pretty expensive, but you have Tenerife, you have other areas in Spain. I'm not really familiar with Spain too well. I need to visit there. Another mid tier. What's another good mid tier? Estonia's.
Sorry to cut you. Is Bucharest expensive to live?
No, not relative to like globally, no. But like in Romania, it's relatively more expensive to live, but there's more money moving there. So if like for me, I would like Bucharest. I'm actually looking at visiting there just to check it out because I've heard about it. But it's a little bit more expensive, but Romania as a whole is not expensive at all.
I see. Yeah, I know. Like just moving to different locations for sure can change you a lot. Because last year, for I want to say about 2 weeks, 12, 13 days, I went to like a road trip. I did like a road trip from the west coast of America to the east coast to all the way Florida. And
Mhm.
those 12 days changed me completely as a person. So now
Mhm.
imagine if you live somewhere for months, maybe a year or two. That's like crazy self improvement.
Oh yeah, you don't know the language. You're still figuring everything out. You have to start analyzing people a bit better. You're not just like you can't just move around and not know what's going on. In the US, you can just walk around and not know what's going on. In if you move to Europe or Southeast Asia or somewhere like that, you're in unknown territories. So you have to like always know what's going on. You have to understand social dynamics. You have to understand, okay, where is this person sitting in the social hierarchy? Are they like higher up? Do people respect them a lot more? Okay, what about this type of person? Is this person respected here? Like you have to start really looking around and starting to position yourself in like, okay, where do I need to be in this hierarchy? How do I rise up? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to know? How do I know them? Like it's way different when you move to a different country and you're trying to build even a presence there, you know?
100%. I know, like living in Romania, also just doing all this personal branding stuff, it can be tough at times
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it's a completely different challenge, different ball game. So, what's like a quote that you live by, no matter the situation? You always reminded yourself, like, okay, I'm gonna remember this.
A quote. I don't think I remember a quote, but the one thing I live by is hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. Always. Because I think the thing is, and it may sound simple, but a lot of them feel like they're hyper talented, right? And I've had this problem too, where like, oh, I feel like I'm hyper talented. You start to get complacent, and then you start seeing people who are less talented than you or less smarter than you beating you. And the reason why is because they're just putting in more work than you. They're just brainlessly putting in work, whereas you're over analyzing everything. So that quote, I would say, fits even this scenario because it's like, yeah, I can be in a different country. Yeah, I can have all these different obstacles. But the only way I get through it is by working hard. Like if I'm just relying on my talent doesn't really work as well here because it's a different country. So I have to work hard to then be able to develop even more talent